This is my third attempt recording this video because my audio keeps cutting out. It is very annoying, but we're here. So, Scooby-Doo has been around forever at this point. It's kind of like your granddad who just, you say he's going to live longer than everybody and he just kind of actually does. And since it's spooky season, I figured what better of a time to revisit this goofy ass dog's history. Okay, so strap in, because before Scooby-Doo was a 50-year-long fever dream of haunted amusement parks and teenagers with suspiciously high snack bills, he started as a corporate panic attack.
Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
It's 1969, America's in flames, the Beatles are disbanding, and TV execs are losing their minds, because apparently parents found out that cartoons cause violence in their kids, kind of like what they assumed video games did. Jesus Christ. Parents just always want to blame other shit besides themselves. It makes no sense. Yes, apparently Tom and Jerry smacking each other over the head with frying pans was doing more damage to kids' brains than acid tabs at Woodstock. So CBS walks into Hanna-Barbera like, we need a wholesome show. No guns, no violence. You know, and please, for the love of God, just make it sell cereal. And so from the ashes of that censorship rose one of the most bizarrely perfect combinations of nonsense ever put on television. A cowardly dog, not him, solving crimes with his suspiciously chilled out group of friends, and they drive around in a van that smells like anxiety and oregano. Because you know Shaggy B. You know it. Don't deny it. That's right, Scooby-Doo wasn't born from artistic inspiration. He was born because execs were terrified of the FCC. Now, the first name pushed was Mysteries 5, because nothing says Saturday morning energy like the name of like an audit team for the IRS. Like, what is that name? Then they tried Who's Scared, which I don't know why they had to add the stutter. But that obviously didn't go over well because it kind of just sounded like a quiz show hosted by Satan. And then finally someone at Hanna-Barbera saw Dooby-Dooby-Doo in Sinatra's Strangers in the Night, and they said, that's it. That's the vibe right there. And so Scooby-Doo, Where Are You was born. Alright, so let's meet the gang. We've got Fred, the ascot wearing square who loves making traps and has way too much confidence because I don't know where he got any of it from. He's kind of just a dumbass. Daphne Blake, fashion icon, damsel in distress, even though not really, because I mean, everybody in the group gets like taken at one point, like kidnapped. And the only person who treats Ghost like it's a part of her Pilates routine. And then we got Velma, the genius, the skeptic, and probably the reason that so many people lose their glasses in horror movies, to be honest with you. And then we got Shaggy, a man powered entirely by fear and sandwiches. And of course we got Scooby-Doo, a dog who can speak perfect broken English, drives cars, and somehow still has stayed unemployed for 5 consecutive decades. Together, they form Mystery Inc., a gang so committed to meddling that they trespass basically every single time they have to do something. When the first episode dropped on September 13th, 1969, it set a formula that has outlived multiple wars and like 5 different Batman reboots, I think. Step 1, arrive at a random town. Step 2, find a monster at said random town. Step 3, run around for about 12 minutes to a straight banger of music like every single fucking time. Step 4, set a trap for said monster at the beginning. Step 5, pull off the mask of said monster. And step 6, it was usually the janitor. Or just whoever was obvious that episode usually, honestly. And boom, television history was made. The first season was basically just a bunch of haunted buildings, ghosts who had insanely good cardio, and then a bunch of suspiciously chill teenagers to be in these types of situations. But it worked. Because while every other cartoon was about superheroes and slapstick, Scooby-Doo offered kids something relatable. The dream of solving crimes with your dog while high on mystery fumes. What the fuck? That's not relatable to children. Kids don't do drugs. But what people forget is Scooby-Doo is more than just a show. It's kind of, at this point, he's a cultural icon. And especially at that time, you really couldn't escape him. I'm talking lunchboxes, cereal, pajamas, he had everything. Scooby snacks were suddenly real, and they fucking tasted like shit, because I had some, I don't know about these ones, whenever they first came out, but whenever I was younger, them bitches was nasty, bro. I love Scooby-Doo, but them bitches was disgusting. I don't know how they ate them bitches, if that's what they taste like in the show. But it made money. Stupid amounts of money. Hanna-Barbera realized that they may have accidentally created the cartoon equivalent of the Rolling Stones, because every time you tried to kill it, it just came back stronger. So by 1970, it starts to spawn these weird spin-offs like Gremlins in the Rain. The new Scooby-Doo movies hit in 1972. And suddenly the gang was hanging out with Batman, the Harlem Globetrotters, and even Don Knotts. Because apparently the crossover multiverse like cartoon thing happened and started with Scooby-Doo. A dog in his van smoking weed with his homies. That's crazy. And the plots, by the way, made basically no sense. One week, Scooby would be, uncovering like a lighthouse mystery or some shit, finding out who the lighthouse ghost was. And then the next, he was solving crimes fighting the Joker with Batman. But the wildest part is, it worked again. Now, let's talk tone. The early 70s was a strange time for kids' TV. Everything was vaguely psychedelic, all the backgrounds looked like melted crayons, and half the dialogue felt way too chill for people getting chased by zombies. By the late 70s, though, things were getting weird. Networks looked at Scooby-Doo and said, how can we make him weirder, but also cheaper? And enter Scrappy-Doo. Yeah, the little tiny demon pup who almost ended civilization, according to fucking Scooby-Doo fans. In 1979, the studio decided that the show needed some fresh energy. So they introduced Scooby's nephew, because apparently dogs have extended families now. I didn't know about that. Scrappy-Doo was supposed to be cute and brave. Instead, he may have become the single most hated character since Jar Jar Binks. Every episode turned into this tiny dog screaming, and the audience, they revolted. But here's the cosmic joke of it all. Scrappy sort of saved the franchise. Ratings were absolutely tanking before his arrival, and his annoying energy somehow just dragged the franchise through the early 80s like a caffeinated raccoon. So yeah, the thing that everyone hated kept Scooby-Doo alive. By 1985, the original magic was fading. We got the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, where Scooby and Shaggy literally teamed up with a kid named Flim Flam and had Vince Price as their ghost hunting mentor. It was unhinged, it was fantastic, and it tanked harder than a lead balloon. After that, the franchise went into sort of a weird limbo. For a few years, Scooby-Doo was basically dead. Reruns, VHS tapes, and existential dread. But like every supernatural entity he had ever unmasked, he would rise again, because you can't kill Scooby-Doo. You just can't. It's not possible. Okay, so picture this. It's the early 1990s. The Berlin Wall's down, everyone's wearing neon, and Scooby-Doo has been sitting in cartoon purgatory for nearly a decade. The world has changed. Kids don't want polite mysteries anymore. They want attitude. They want radical. They want skateboarding slap bracelets and mascots that scream cowabunga before committing minor crimes. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Is sitting there like, we've got a 200-pound dog just sitting here collecting dust. Can we make him extreme? And so begins the Scooby-Doo Renaissance, a wild snack-fueled resurrection that nobody really expected, powered by nostalgia, cable TV, and VHS tapes. If you were alive in the 90s, I wasn't, but apparently if you were, you could just walk into a Blockbuster and there would be like a whole wall full of Scooby-Doo shit. Which sounds cool as shit. I'm talking Where Are You?, the new Scooby-Doo movies, Ghoul School, Boo Brothers. Each one a fever dream in a clamshell case, promising mystery, mayhem, and maybe demons. These movies were insane. They weren't mysteries anymore. They were gothic comedies where sometimes the ghosts were real, sometimes they weren't, and occasionally they were voiced by Don Messick. Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers was released in 1987, and it was like if Ghostbusters was written by somebody who just snorted a shit ton of Fun Dip. It had Confederate ghosts, slapstick skeletons, and an entire subplot about inheriting a haunted plantation, because apparently the Civil War is fair game for Saturday morning shenanigans. Then came Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School, where Shaggy and Scooby become gym teachers at a boarding school for the daughters of classic monsters. Yep, that's right. Frankenstein's kid, Dracula's kid, the Mummy's kid, and somehow this was supposed to teach friendship. It's kind of like Mean Girls meets the Monster Mash. And don't forget Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, which was released in 1988 and was about Shaggy turning into a werewolf and having to compete in a NASCAR race with other monsters to get turned back into human. What the fuck were they on writing this? What were they smoking? And the best part is that it worked. These direct-to-video movies kind of kept the brand alive. Kids didn't care that the animation budget was $12 in a bag of Doritos. They were just happy Scooby-Doo was back. By the mid-90s, Cartoon Network showed up and said, we're about to make Scooby-Doo omnipresent. They bought everything. I'm talking every single episode, every single movie, all of that. And they reran every episode basically 24/7. Like, no joke, at any given time, Scooby-Doo was somewhere on that channel. Morning, Scooby-Doo. After school, Scooby-Doo. Midnight, Scooby-Doo, and a cursed laugh track. The network realized something huge. Kids didn't see Scooby-Doo as old. They saw it as sort of a comfort food. You knew what you were getting: Ghost, Chase, Unmasked, and it's Old Man Jenkins. And in an era of extreme cartoons like Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead, Scooby-Doo was kind of like the safe option. So Warner Bros. Decided, let's bring it back properly. So in 1998, the dog returned with probably one of the greatest glow-ups in animation history. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, released in 1998. This was it. This was the moment Scooby-Doo stopped pretending. Zombie Island wasn't another old man in a mask story. Oh no. The monsters in this one were real. The ghosts were real, and Scooby-Doo had trauma now. The plot: Mystery Inc. reunites after years of being apart because Daphne's hosting a ghost hunting TV show. They travel to a creepy Louisiana island ran by cat people who feast on people's souls. It's got voodoo, genuine horror, and a soundtrack that slaps harder than the smell of a haunted swamp. This movie redefined Scooby-Doo. It was darker, sharper, and emotionally grounded. Fred wasn't just setting traps anymore. He was dealing with jealousy. Daphne actually had agency. Velma wasn't taking anyone's nonsense. And Shaggy and Scooby, still pretty terrified, but somehow braver than ever. For the first time, the show didn't just reset after the credits. It felt like there was some continuity and that the characters had like grown up, essentially. Zombie Island was so popular that it spawned what fans now call the Dark Age trilogy, because apparently Scooby-Doo got emo for a while. First up, The Witch's Ghost in 1999, featuring a goth band called the Hex Girls, which is a fan favorite. The Hex Girls were 3 eco-punk witches singing about environmentalism and feminism, and they awakened something in every kid who would later buy Doc Martens. Then came Alien Invaders in 2000, where Shaggy literally falls in love with an alien. Yes, that actually happened. He meets a hot UFO chick, they frolic in the desert, and she turns out to be an extraterrestrial who just yeets herself back into space at the end. Shaggy got heartbreak and character development. Poor Shaggy, man. He ain't deserved that, man. Why they do my dog like that, man? Finally, Cyberchase, that was released in 2001. A digital nightmare where Mystery Inc. gets sucked into a video game world and has to face all their old monsters. It was meta before meta was cool. They even fought their classic 1969 selves. It was kind of like Scooby-Doo Into the Multiverse of Madness. My fault. By this point, Scooby-Doo was basically unstoppable. Merch, reruns, and nostalgia were printing money. So Hollywood said, you know what this talking dog really needs? James Gunn. That's right, the same guy who brought us Peacemaker, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He also wrote the 2002 Scooby-Doo movies. And it shows. You've got Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred, Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne, Matthew Lillard literally becoming Shaggy, like I think he voices Shaggy now, and a fully CGI Scooby-Doo that kind of looked like a cursed balloon animal. The plot: the gang reunites at a cursed theme park called Spooky Island, where everyone's souls are getting swapped with demons. It was camp, it was chaotic, and it had a fart duel between Shaggy and Scooby that somehow made $275 million. Then came Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, which came out in 2004, and they completely doubled down on the CGI chaos and all of that shit. Every villain from the original cartoon came back. There were explosions, rubber suits, and Scooby-Doo dancing to the right stuff in a disco outfit. It was pure cinema. And just like that, Scooby-Doo was mainstream again. He had gone from a Saturday morning like filler to a box office juggernaut. From censors afterthought to pop culture royalty. He was everywhere. Cereal boxes, video games, plushies, crossover episodes. He was literally everywhere. The franchise had survived 3 decades of reinvention, and it was about to get even wilder. Alright, so buckle in, because this is where Scooby-Doo stops being a goofy Mystery of the Week sort of show and becomes a cosmic horror series about destiny, ancient evil, and talking dogs that can channel a prophecy. Yeah, you heard that right. This is Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which ran from 2010 to 2013. The show that said, what if Twin Peaks, but for children? And one of the FBI agents is a Great Dane. So picture it. It's 2010. Cartoon Network is in its weird experimental phase, somewhere between Adventure Time's existential drama and Ben 10's interdimensional puberty arc. And then, out of nowhere, they announced they're rebooting Scooby-Doo again. Most fans went, oh great, another nostalgia cash grab. Can't wait for Fred to say, let's split up gang for the 400th time, like in, a few decades. But Mystery Incorporated wasn't that. This show opened with a cold case. A missing group of teen detectives decades ago. A cursed town literally named Crystal Cove, the most haunted place on Earth. And right from the jump, you knew something ain't right. The tone shift hit like a truck. Gone were bubbly colors and Scooby laughs every 30 seconds. Instead, you got moody lighting, heavy shadows, and a soundtrack that could have played in an X-Files episode. The gang actually lived in this town. They had parents, homes, lives, and for once, consequences. Fred wasn't just a trap nerd anymore. He was an emotionally stunted child raised by a mayor. Daphne had rich parents who disapproved of her detective nonsense. Velma was still the smart one, but she was overshadowed and constantly isolated. Shaggy and Scooby, they were the heart, but even they were struggling. Like, this show had relationship drama. Fred and Daphne, constant tension. Velma and Shaggy, actual breakup arcs. Scooby getting jealous, full episodes. It wasn't just your dad Scooby-Doo anymore. This was CW Scooby-Doo, except written by people who actually knew how to write a mystery. Instead of solving just random monster cases, Every episode fed into one big central mystery. They kept finding references to a previous Mystery Inc. way back from the 1950s. Another group of teens and a talking animal who disappeared without a trace. And every time they solved a local case, the clues pointed back to this ancient pattern. A pattern of cursed towns, masked figures, and something buried beneath the earth. The entire town was in on it. The mayor, the police chief, even the local diner lady. And that creeping paranoia, it turned Scooby-Doo into a serialized psychological thriller. Every episode peeled back one more layer, until the gang realized they weren't the first. They were just the latest incarnation of something way, way older. You see, in season 2, the show reveals that Scooby-Doo isn't just a talking dog. He's a descendant of an ancient line of Anunnaki hounds, divine beings from another dimension who once protected humanity. I'm not kidding. They turned Scooby-Doo into a cosmic guardian of reality, which is insane. The evil that Crystal Cove sits on, it's not just ghosts or crooks. It's literally this. I'm not fucking trying to pronounce this, so just read it. An eldritch entity sealed beneath the town that feeds on greed and deception. The previous Mystery Inc., they failed. They unleashed it. Now it's up to Scooby and the gang to fix it. So yes, this show made Scooby-Doo canonically a warrior of light, fighting an interdimensional Lovecraftian parasite while still having fart jokes. It peaked television, to be honest with you. Let's not undersell how dramatic this show got. Fred's dad, the mayor, turns out to have just kidnapped Fred as a child, replacing the real Fred Jones with a decoy so that he could raise him as a pawn. So Fred discovers that he's literally just been living a lie this entire time. The man who taught him how to make traps was a manipulative criminal. And Daphne, she goes full goth queen for a few episodes, after Fred basically just emotionally just ghosts you. We're talking purple eyeshadow, lace gloves, and pure I'm fine energy. It's like watching your childhood crush turn into a Hot Topic employee overnight. Meanwhile, Velma goes full conspiracy board, connecting red strings between local legends and talking parrots that know too much. And Shaggy, he's just trying to survive, being the only sane man in this cosmic war. Every episode, he looks like he's aged 5 years. After 52 episodes of escalating chaos, we finally get the finale. The gang uncovers the heart of the planet, a chamber that seals away the cosmic entity. They confront the evil entity, a being that takes the form of glowing eyes and whispers, tempting Fred, Daphne, and the rest with alternate realities. And Scooby literally rejects cosmic evil with the power of friendship. He chooses love and loyalty over darkness, breaking the cycle. Reality resets and the evil entity is destroyed, and when the gang wakes up, everything is different. Crystal Cove is peaceful, the cursed history is gone, the previous Mystery Inc. never vanished, everyone's happy. It's a clean slate. But Scooby glances at the camera just for a second, like he remembers, like he knows what he just erased. And that's it. The show ends there. No big reunion, no sequel, just quiet closure. Cartoon about a stoner dog and some meddling kids ended on an existential time loop reset with cosmic undertones and emotional catharsis, which is kind of crazy because this all started just being about fucking pieheads looking for ghosts. You thought we peaked with cosmic gods and dimensional resets? No. Welcome to Scooby Apocalypse, 2016 to 2020. The what if Mad Max was written by somebody who really loves Hanna-Barbera? Because DC Comics looked at Scooby-Doo and said, what if we killed the world and made the dog talk through nanotech? It was a comic that nobody asked for, but everybody read anyways. It all started whenever DC did their Hanna-Barbera Beyond line. This wild, intuitive to reimagine classic cartoons in edgy, postmodern ways. Like the Flintstones became a satirical take on religion and consumerism. Wacky Raceland turned into Mad Max Fury Road, just with cartoon cars. And Scooby Apocalypse, well, became Resident Evil meets The Breakfast Club. The comic opens with Velma. Not your average glasses and sweater Velma though, but a genius scientist working for the Complex, a shadowy government lab. And the Complex, they accidentally released a nanite plague on the entire Earth. Those nanites were supposed to evolve humanity into sort of a more peaceful species. Instead, they just mutated everyone into monsters. So, yeah, this version of Velma basically caused the apocalypse. Shaggy's not a cowardly hippie anymore either. He's a tattooed hipster survivalist working as an animal trainer for the Complex. Fred's a military-type journalist, documenting everything for some truth-exposing blog that he's probably gonna get 2 broken knees and a gunshot to the back of the head and considered for. And Daphne's a disgraced TV host who got canceled for chasing conspiracy theories. And Scooby, he's a failed science experiment. A talking smart dog outfitted with cybernetic goggles designed to project emojis. Yeah, Scooby-Doo canonically has a heads-up display that shows little cartoon faces. Episode 1, the nanites go rogue, everyone starts mutating, and suddenly the mystery machine is now a fortified tank. Like it's got armor, gun turrets, and built-in Wi-Fi for doomsday streaming. You always gotta make sure to have your TV available, my friends, to be able to watch everything, including my videos. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. The gang goes from solving mysteries to trying not to get eaten alive by nanite monsters. It's Scooby-Doo meets The Walking Dead. And somehow it still works. Because underneath the blood and gore, the writers kept the core dynamic. Velma's guilt and intellect, Fred's blind loyalty to Daphne, Shaggy's pacifist heart, and Scooby's unwavering devotion. It's just, instead of unmasking ghosts, they're unmasking science itself. Velma's arc is kinda insane. She's basically living with the guilt of killing 99% of humanity while also still trying to keep the last 1% alive. And Fred and Daphne's relationship in this story is tragic and beautiful. Fred's been in love with Daphne forever, but Daphne's too broken, too obsessed with finding the truth, too distrustful after years of betrayal. They finally admit their feelings for each other in the middle of a monster siege, and right when you think, oh, finally, they're happy now, Fred gets killed. Like, just out of nowhere, shot by a mutant. Dies in Daphne's arms. And she completely snaps. Like, she starts hallucinating Fred's voice talking to her through the radio. And for a few issues, the audience doesn't even know if it's real or if she's just losing her mind. Scooby Apocalypse really said, what if Scooby-Doo had emotional devastation and trauma arcs? Scooby-Doo himself evolves a lot in the story as well. He starts off timid and unsure of his place, haunted by the fact that his smart dog program failed, that the humans laughed at him. But through the apocalypse, he becomes a leader. There's a scene where Scooby faces off with a rogue AI dog named Scrappy. Yep, that's right, Scrappy's in this universe too. And he's terrifying. He's bigger, meaner, and convinced that he's the alpha of the next generation. As the series goes on, the team starts finding survivors. Communities trying to rebuild and sometimes turning into cults. Whole cities overtaken by nanite monsters who evolved into strange hive minds. Velma's guilt turns into purpose. She starts searching for a way to reverse the mutation, but the deeper they dig, the clearer it becomes. There's no fixing it. The world's already changed. The nanites have rewritten biology. The new species, these monsters, are evolving intelligence, culture, even empathy. So the real question becomes, who deserves to inherit Earth? Humans or the monsters we made? In the final issue, the gang discovers the source code that can either reset the nanites or merge them entirely with human DNA. Velma hesitates. The world they knew is gone. All they can do now is move forward. The series ends with Scooby leading a caravan of survivors into the dawn, no longer chasing mysteries, but building a new civilization out of ashes. Alright gang, grab your Scooby snacks and your existential dread, because this is where it gets really weird. We have officially entered the streaming age, where nostalgia is currency. Reboots are basically ritual sacrifices, and some Warner Bros. Exec somewhere keeps whispering, what if Scooby-Doo but sexier? Yeah, welcome to the modern era, 2020 and beyond, where Scooby-Doo isn't just a cartoon anymore, he's a brand, a meme, and occasionally a cultural war crime. By the late 2010s, Scooby-Doo had already been rebooted like 12 times. There were the movies, there were multiple TV runs, and there were even Lego crossovers. You know you've made it whenever you've got your own brick version. So when 2020 rolled around, Warner Bros. Said, what if we just make a cinematic universe out of Scooby-Doo? Because of course they did. Enter Scoob in 2020. The movie that asked, what if the mystery gang solved crimes with Simon Cowell? The premise sounded promising at first, I guess. A fully CGI animated origin story showing how the gang really first met. Shaggy meets Scooby, Scooby meets Snacks, and boom, childhood magic. But then, about 20 minutes in, it turns into Marvel's Avengers but with dogs. Like suddenly they're teaming up with Blue Falcon, Dino Mutt, and Captain Caveman to stop Dick Dastardly from opening a portal to the underworld. Like, what the fuck? What is going on? And the underworld is guarded by Cerberus. Because obviously nothing says family movie like a three-headed hellhound and an emotional goodbye between a man and his talking Great Dane. It's equal parts adorable and absolutely unhinged. See, the thing about Scoob is it was supposed to be the start of something way, way bigger. A full-blown Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe. They had a concept for a new Jetsons movie, wacky races spin-offs, even a Space Ghost revival. And then Warner Bros. Axed it. Just gone. Pulled the plug. Deleted half the sequels and left Scooby in IP limbo. They even made a holiday sequel, Scoob Holiday Haunt, finished the whole thing, and then shelved it permanently for a tax write-off. Imagine spending years animating Scooby-Doo dressed as Santa Claus, only for some accountant to go, yeah, kill it. The numbers don't Scoob. And then came Velma. I'm not talking about this. Fuck you. Okay. The best part about everything that I would have said about Velma being how bad it was, is Scooby-Doo survived it, showing that you really can't kill this motherfucker, he just does not die. After Velma's chaos, Cartoon Network quietly went, hey, let's just make a normal Scooby-Doo again. So in 2024, they started teasing new traditional Scooby-Doo projects, animated specials, a rumored Halloween crossover, and even a potential Mystery Incorporated revival. And there's still a market for it. There's still definitely a fan base, kids, adults, everyone. Because Scooby-Doo isn't really just a cartoon. He's, like I've said earlier, basically just comfort food. You don't reboot a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and change it. You keep it a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, motherfucker. Don't start adding all that wild shit. Now, honey, honey, I can, add a little bit of honey. That's Mystery Incorporated. They added a little bit of honey to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've never had honey mixed with your peanut butter. Put that shit in a bowl and get to whisking, boy. Well, I don't know about whisking, but grab like a butter knife or whatever you're going to use to spread that shit on the bread with. Whisk them. Good. And let's be honest, Scooby's modern immortality does not come from Warner Bros. It comes from the internet. Memes have made Scooby-Doo bigger than the franchise itself. We got shit like Ultra Instinct Shaggy, Fred monologues turned into TikTok thirst traps, Daphne thirst tweets that could summon an HR violation for Shirley. Scooby-Doo is now everywhere. He's not a brand. At any given moment, somebody somewhere is watching Zombie Island for the 400th time. Someone else is posting Rut-Row reaction gifs. And another person is unironically debating if Scooby could beat fucking Goku. He could. He's behind me, isn't he? And that's the beauty of it. From Saturday mornings in 1969 to TikTok nowadays, Scooby-Doo's never really gone out of style because all he does is adapt. He survived Ghost, Aliens, reboots, CGI, Warner Bros, tax evasion, and the complete collapse of Western animation. He's been every genre imaginable: comedy, mystery, horror, romance, apocalypse, fiction. Through it all, he's never changed what matters. He's still a doggo who still loves his friends and just wants to help. That's the realest mystery of Scooby-Doo, is how can he just not die? In my opinion, it's because he's just cemented at this point, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's the history of Scooby-Doo. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, you know what I'm saying, share the video to your friends. If you have any ideas for other videos that you want, comment down below. If I missed anything that you find important, comment down below. And don't comment about the Velma shit. I did it on purpose, but I already know y'all already commented that I didn't include her. She was bad. She was bad in the James Gunn movies. Don't worry, I know. If you didn't watch this far, you won't know. But if you did, you will know. The video's somewhere right here. And subscribe somewhere right here. Click them bitches. Fuck you. Peace out.